And good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world, and depending if you're watching or listening live or in person or recorded. Um, I'm Helen Harwood Snell, and I am a storyteller and a communication coach. And I've realized recently that storytelling sometimes can be a confusing word in business. So I have started to realign that and say that I create content that connects because that's what storytelling does. So we are going to meet a wonderful entrepreneur today, Stacy Heisey Terrell. We're going to learn a little bit about her story, and we are going to create a story for her at the end of the conversation today that you'll see how we can produce connected content or connected marketing from that. So Stacy runs something called the Entrepreneur's Source, and she is a career ownership coach. She helps individuals explore career opportunities that align with who they are and what they actually want to do in the world. Her background in human resources across multiple industries showed her struggle, broken promises, and insecurity, things that she both experienced and saw others experience. So, those lessons inspired her to take control of her own path and create a balanced lifestyle and build the work environment she had always envisioned. So now Stacy brings that experience and passion to coaching others who are ready for a change but aren't sure where to begin. Welcome, Stacy.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be in this conversation, Helen.
Awesome. So, those of you who are listening in, if you're regular listeners, you'll notice my voice is a little off. So, I'm going to try and just ask simple questions and let Stacy do all the talking today because I've got a sore throat. But the show must go on. So, Stacy, I love to start these conversations with letting people know who you are as a person outside of your business, and I think that's in alignment with what you do, anyways, because that's a big part of your culture in your work. So, tell us the fun stuff. Who is Stacy?
Yes, thank you so much. So I live outside of the Philadelphia area. I'm originally from California. So what I'm doing in the cold weather, I ask myself every day during the winter. I have four daughters. So, there is never a dull moment at my house, or very few quiet moments. Um, and my husband is the director of a food pantry. So when I am not at home or driving children around or hosting children at my house, I am at the food pantry working. So that gives us a great opportunity to connect with our community and see our have space to make an impact, which was a huge part of me deciding to open my own business and to become an entrepreneur was that owning my time factor.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so, when you're not helping your husband and when you're not looking after your daughters, what do you do for fun? Do you have an outlet?
Sleep. Yeah.
I hear that.
Yes, no, I'm a huge history buff. And so I love listening to podcasts, history podcasts, and documentaries. And that is kind of my escape into the past
I love that.
sometimes is I find it inspirational and also just fascinating. So,
Yeah, I mean, we can learn a lot of things from the past, right? And it's
yeah.
kind of amazing when we look back at history and see those same mistakes repeated over and over and over.
Yes, right.
Yeah. And does that kind of delve into the history of business and things like that as well? Do you actually like to look at documentaries of different businesses or different systems in business, different um, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. My mind is a little dull today. Um, different approaches to business that we've seen
Yeah.
over the years.
Yes, and you know what I love to learn about are failures that people have had and how they overcome failures. And we see that over and over. highly successful business people who really had a rocky start, or these famous historic figures that seem to have it all together, but then you learn more about their early life and it's like, oh my gosh, really what made them was overcoming those failures and persisting and having some resilience, but also the ability to recreate who they are and make those pivots. I find that as a theme that comes up over and over in my life, and I love working with people who are in that journey, kind of maybe at that fork in the road, thinking, what, is, can I do a different thing? Like, what if I tried a different path? Would I
Yes.
have more success? Um, but also more joy or more whatever that thing is, right? We talk about income or lifestyle or legacy. What is that really pushes their buttons? Could we maybe try something new to find more of that?
Amazing. I love that. And it makes so much sense that you would draw from history for that inspiration that you then pass on to your clients.
Yes,
So
yes.
that's beautiful. So in that light, tell me who is a hero of yours.
Well, so one of my heroes is um is President Ulysses S. Grant. So I don't know if you know much about him, but he was an utter failure before the Civil War and tried lots of different things, and even had one Christmas where he was selling his watch to buy presents for his children, and just his family thought he was a drinker, and so he'd go on these benders. He got kind of booted out of the army, and had all kinds of personal struggles, but persisted. And what he was really great at was leading people, and being a general. And I was watching a show, and it said within 8 years, right before the Civil War started, he had been a failed businessman, was, working for his dad, kinda his dad threw him a bone, gave him a job, and 8 years later, he's president of the United States. So, I mean, this remarkable pivot, but a lot of his resilience and ability to know failure and know that that doesn't kill you, right? Like, you can
Yeah,
keep
doesn't
going.
define you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So do you can you identify from looking at his story kind of what was his turning point?
Yeah, I think, well, I am an armchair historian, so there might be a listener who says, "No, no, 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 she doesn't know what she's talking about." But I think what resonates with me is he had a couple tastes of success, leading kind of in his authentic way early in the war. Like, he was a risk taker, he charged ahead, and he was fearless, and that worked. And then I think he had moments of like, oh, like, well, when I'm myself, or when I use my style, which is kind of pounding forward, finding a way, he found bits of success.
Oh, I
And
love that.
I think that speaks to me, because probably some of your listeners too, where you you have a vision of kind of where your life's headed, and then you hit walls and you hit ceilings, and having to persist or find creative ways around those things, um, really can make us who we are, rather than sitting next to the wall, right? Like, just okay, I guess I live here now, right?
Yes,
Like,
absolutely. So let's get into a little bit then of your business. And again, I'm loving this kind of thread of what I'm seeing in your inspiration, and I'm sure that you bring that to your clients. But share with me first, maybe two or three of your core values.
um, yes. So I think the main one, and I have to have it in my practice, right, is being honest with ourselves. So, sometimes I'll have a client and that is really difficult and we can only go so far, right? But I think being really honest with ourselves about what success looks like to us, especially when that might be really different than what it looks like to our partners, to our families, to the people we're working with. Um, so when you can finally kind of let your guard down and be like, okay, this is what I want my life to be about, and being honest about that. And then a primary value that I try to hold is staying open and curious, right? So sometimes, I have countless clients who say, like, "Oh my gosh, I never would have guessed I would have ended up here when I started the journey," right? Like, sometimes we don't even know what it is, that is out there until we're open to a conversation or we get kind of curious, and follow those threads.
Yeah, fantastic. I love that. So now, with all of that in mind, um, tell me what it is that you do to help people that are feeling stuck or are feeling that creative nudge to try something different and
Yeah,
aren't sure how to do that. How do you help entrepreneurs or people in the corporate space with
yeah.
that?
Yeah, so I find, like, people kinda have that itch, right? Like, I know I need to do something, but I don't know where to start, or how do I explore? And, I love talking to people in that space because 'cause they're primed to do something exciting. We just gotta figure out what it is, what that step is. Um, so we spend a lot of time trying to define, get down on paper, what are those big goals out on the horizon? What does success look like? And then how do we get there? What are the different vehicles to get there? So often we think like, okay, I'm in a Ford and the Ford is the only way to get to the goal. And it's like, no, you could take a helicopter, you could take a Lexus, you could take a bicycle or roller skates. Like there's lots of vehicles to get there, right? So also then being open to, okay, if this is what my goal is, this is where I'm going, where I wanna take my family, this is what success looks like, then what are vehicles to get there? So sometimes that is, um, staying in your job, switching to a different job with the same job title, same industry. Sometimes it's a totally different industry or different job title. Other times it might be opening a business or kind of cutting your own path, and seeing what that holds for you, or both, right? Um,
Right.
Kind of
I-
having a
Is that
mix.
is that um is that a transition that you often see when people are wanting to leave corporate, that they kind of hold both for a while? And is that an area where you have expertise in guiding them? This is how long you should be holding on, and this is how you should plan your exit, those kinds of things.
Yes, yes, I we do explore that. I explore that with clients, and sometimes it's, starting a business slowly and growing it so you could hop over into that track, and sometimes it's just keeping it part-time. I have clients who feel like they're missing something in their day job, a creative outlet or an opportunity to lead or make community impact. And sometimes just that piece is missing that could come with a business. And then it makes your day job even a little more enjoyable because you feel like, oh, I'm using my whole brain. Um, I'm using all facets of who I am. And so that can be really interesting to explore. You know, is it is it a whole change and ready for a whole pivot? Or is it maybe an addition that would make things fun or fill a need that you're worried about in the future? Or retirement. I have lots of folks who are thinking, how do I, what do I don't want to quit work when I retire. What am I going to do with myself? Could you could you do a part-time business that you have free time but you have some income, again, that creative outlet or that leadership outlet? Uh,
Amazing. So that's part of the work that you do as well, is consulting people
yeah,
kind of transitioning into retirement and how to find purpose there.
yes. Yes,
Fantastic.
for
So
sure.
tell us a bit about your path, getting to this place where you are now, where you have found out how to make work work for you.
Yes, thanks for using my line. Um, well, my background's in human resources, and so I worked in large corporations. I worked in the insurance industry. I worked at a small consulting firm that was global. I worked in my local government. I did consulting. I had lots of different human resources jobs, and one common theme for me throughout those, I really enjoyed the coaching and mentoring employees and leaders, how to do better, how to fulfill their role. But I was always doing that from the corporation's point of view, right? How does an employee be a better employee for the company, right?
Yes, not
Um,
necessarily to fulfill their own desires.
yes, and so it
Yeah.
was a bonus if that lined up, right? And often it does, um, but I also, so I'm in the US, so I had to do lots of layoffs and
Mm.
got really good at layoffs. So they flew me all over the place doing layoffs. And
That would be a fun trip.
okay, it was terrible, right? Like I never
Yeah.
slept. Um, but I wanted to do them because I knew that I could be empathetic and fill a need there. But again, I was doing it from the company's perspective. So now I almost do the same things, just I flipped it over and work with the individuals, right? So coaching employees and leaders, how do they find fulfillment? It might be with their current job. Often it isn't. Um, a lot of my clients have been through a layoff, and that can be pretty traumatic and kind of a unique experience. And
Mhm.
so, what do you do with that? How do you move forward? Um, how do you take those pieces and use them to build yourself?
Yeah. So give us, if you could, maybe one or two tips for anybody listening who's feeling like they're stuck or feeling that itch that they want to try something new. Um, give us a couple of tips on how you can take control of your career and kind of
Mhm.
unleash that I don't know, 2.0 version of their life.
Yeah, yeah, we talk about kind of your 2.0 career. Um, and sometimes that's really different than your 1.0. Well, I think the first thing is to take a moment to assess your goals. Often, when we start our careers in our early 20s, we've got one set of goals and we're working hard towards them. But then when we get in our 40s and 50s, we're not in that same place. Like I don't need to travel that much, or maybe my I don't need the same income that I needed because the kids are out of the house, or we're downsizing, or we're moving. Um, and so taking a moment to reassess your goals, what is it that you're really wanting? And then almost a gap analysis, right? Like, well, then where are you missing the pieces? What is causing that itch or that dissatisfied feeling? Um,
Right. And
and
so it could be, a gamut of things. I'm thinking, financial.
mhm,
It could be, personal satisfaction and feeling like
mhm,
they're doing something, for
mhm,
the world, legacy work.
mhm.
Um, but it could also just be, what, I've been stuck in this 9 to 5 for a long time, and I just feel like there's got to be something better, right?
Right, right.
Yeah. And how often would you suggest that people kind of stop and assess those life goals for themselves, whether they're thinking of changing careers or not?
Yeah, or not. Well, it's funny because a lot of times y we get in the mode, right? And we use all that strategizing energy for our teams, for our organizations, for our families, for our friends, and we never are selfish and steal some of that back for us. Um, so I read an article a while ago, and it said we as individuals should do what businesses do, right? So if a business goes through a strategic plan every 2 to 3 years, and the environment's changing every couple years, things change, you got to freshen things up, then why aren't we doing that and reassessing our goals? What's our mission? What's our purpose? Has that changed? Um,
Yeah, that's great advice because,
yeah.
as you said, it's easy to kind of just get on a path. We're thinking about our kids. You said you've got
Mhm.
4 daughters, and so you're like, okay, I've got to figure out how to get them all through university, and I've got to take them all to their sports events or their,
Right?
artistic endeavors or whatever that is. And then all of a sudden, that phase of life is gone. And if you're not thinking of that in advance,
Yeah,
you're often not prepared, right? So that's really
yeah,
great advice. Be like a
yeah.
company and do a strategic plan
Mhm.
every 2 to 3 years. Love
Uh-huh,
that. Whether
uh-huh.
you're thinking of changing careers or not, that's a really great piece of advice.
Yeah,
So that's good. I would love to ask, is there anything that you would like to offer to the audience? How people can reach out to you? If there's something that you'd like to offer, in terms of a consultation or anything like that,
yeah.
that people can kind of ask some questions and figure out what's going on for them.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and I think some of that strategic process, it's hard to do it by yourself. Sometimes it's even hard to do with a loved one because they kind of know the answers, so they don't ask the questions. So often I hear from clients like, "Oh, it's nice to have a complete stranger doesn't know anything about me, ask me some questions or ask me to explain or give me something new to think about." Um,
Hmm.
So I work with people across Canada and the US. My practice is virtual, so we meet via Zoom. So anyone who would like to talk with me or explore a little bit, they can get to me through my website, which is my life, my biz, biz com. So my
Love
life,
it.
my biz, and they can hop right on my calendar or surf around my website a little bit and get some ideas. But I think anyone who kind of has that tingling feeling of like, oh, she might be talking to me, my life, my biz, and we'll just dig in a little.
Awesome. Okay, so website is mylifemybiz.com.
Mhm.
I'm assuming, yes. You can book a call there and learn more, about your life, through Stacy's eyes. And I love that you presented it that way because I find that a lot in my work as a writer. When I interview someone, I very often find things that they don't even align to. Oh,
Yeah,
this past experience is actually serving me
great.
in a certain way now, or
Yeah,
a value that they may have and they don't even realize. It's
yes,
often hard to look at our own journey. So I think that's, again, really good advice to get an outside set of eyes,
great,
on those things and help to guide us through. So, what I'd love to do now is kind of bring all of these things that I've learned about you together
great.
and create a business story for you that you might be able to use when you're having a discovery call with someone, when you're
Wonderful.
wanting to post something on social media, um, or in a newsletter. So, what's kind of a first story that pops into your mind when you think about a personal story in your life?
Um, for me, I think being brave and launching my business. I never saw myself as a business owner. Uh, I'm the HR lady, right? Who follows all the rules and doesn't keeps away from risk. So that stepping out, taking a risk, but I had so many cheerleaders that came out of the woodwork to cheer me on and to say, "Oh gosh, you're gonna be great. This is totally you." And so again, some of that, they saw things in me that I was slow to see.
And so, can you give me a little bit of kind of detail just so I can build something out of that? How, like, can you think of the day when you decided this is what I need to do? Was it a slow simmer? Was it an overnight decision? How did that come about for you?
It was a slow simmer, and I'll tell you, I met with my financial planner, right? And I thought for sure he was gonna be my out because he would say, don't do this," right? I was using some of my retirement to fund my business. And I talked with him, I said, "Okay, this is what I'm thinking about doing. You know, what do you think? What's your advice?" He's like, "That's amazing. That's great. I tell people if you can bet on yourself, bet on yourself. Terrific. I'm sending you paperwork. No problem. We'll get this done." I was like, "Oh man," right? I was like, "Oh crap. Now I got to do this." Like he was my last like, "Oh, you're crazy. Don't do it." He was, and he's been a terrific friend and cheerleader, right?
I
So
love
I
that.
think sometimes that inspiration, that cheer comes from people you don't expect, or it was like that final push from the universe, like you got the parachute, jump, you know?
I love that. I love that. Okay, so I'm thinking of how to turn this into a story for you
Mhm,
is to talk about um, the fact that if you were speaking to someone to say, I've got this background in HR, I'm all about process and systems and following a program and following a path. And even in my personal life, I'm a researcher. Like I love to learn about history and
mhm.
I love to learn about experience. And I took my time and did all of this research to open my own business, thinking I was going to be told it was too risky and that I needed to shut it down, only to find that I actually had a good business idea.
Oh, I love it.
What if I could help you find something like that to bring
Mhm.
you the joy and the freedom that you want in your life?
Oh, I love that. That's wonderful. Yes, that feels so much like me. Thank
So
you.
good.
Yeah.
So good. I love that. I love that. Um, yeah, it's again, it's those kinds of simple conversations
Yeah.
in a discovery call that can just actually make someone really resonate with you,
Yes.
because all of a
Yeah.
sudden they're like, "Oh, I feel the same way. I've been thinking about this business plan
Mhm.
for 10 years and I've never done anything about it." So, not just specific to you, Stacy, but to the audience, this is just a perfect example of using story to create meaningful connections. There's science-backed data that tells us that we create neural pathways between the speaker and the listener. Even with my sinus headache and my sore throat this morning, I did a presentation to a group on a networking call, and it was all about storytelling, and every single person resonated with those stories because they could see something in their own life that was similar. And so it's a great way to do authentic selling, authentic social media posts,
Mhm.
anything of that nature. So, Stacy, I really want to thank you for joining me today. It was a pleasure to have you.
Thank
Thank you for
you.
carrying most of the conversation because I was trying not to talk too much. And just to remind the audience again, before my voice goes completely, mylifemybiz.com. And
Yes.
how can people find you on social media?
Um, My name is not easy. It's Stacy Heisey Terrell, but if you can find Heisey Terrell or Stacy from the Entrepreneur Source, you can find me on LinkedIn and on Facebook.
Awesome. So don't forget to reach out to Stacy to book that curiosity call. Let's call it a curiosity call, right? If you've got that itching and you're not sure what to do, and there's just something that keeps prodding you to think of a different path, I encourage you to book a call with Stacy. And I also encourage you in your business, where you are now, where you might be moving to as an entrepreneur, don't forget to use storytelling, because it really does create those authentic connections, connection marketing, if we could call it that. I hope to see you again next week. Remember, tell a story, change the conversation.